Did you forget the names?
You're starting. We just went on. The thing is, I probably did forget the names. Yes.
He's sitting here like in a daze, and I'm looking at him. I said, "Did you?"
Well, I was trying to do something. I was trying to think of something clever. I was trying to remember, to say something along the lines of "live from Winnemucca, Nevada," which I figured out that I was going to use that one, and then I couldn't come up with a funny place in the East fast enough.
How about Frostbite Falls?
Oh, Frostbite Falls, Minnesota.
Yeah.
Jeffrey, if you know how to use Skype, okay, why don't you call in? Okay.
Jeffrey Giraffe.
Yes.
So here we are, Joe, at the beginning of what I would have to say, and I always enjoy when it looks like we have dry, fair weather and something particularly nice ahead of us for a weekend, and I always promote it heavily.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I would have to say right now, I haven't been promoting it so heavily because it's not exactly something people want to hear, but I would say right now that we're looking probably at the worst weekend weather-wise that we've had.
It might very well be. We've had some really good weekends. By the way, I'm Joe Cioffi, Fios 1 News Long Island and Fios 1 News New Jersey.
Was that who you were?
That's who I was when I came in today.
What a coincidence. My name is Joe, too. Joe Rao, Fios 1 News, Lower Hudson Valley.
Somebody asked me today, says, which one of you gets top billing? And I said, yes. This is the Joe and Joe Weather Show.
So you want top billing?
That's right.
Oh, well, of course. TV villains never get
top billing.
Oh.
Friday, August 10th. The year is 2018, which is we're getting rapidly coming to a close.
August 10th is the Feast of St. Lawrence, and his martyrdom was in 258 A.D., and he was actually...
How'd they take him out?
They took him out on a gridiron. They put him on a gridiron and grilled him to death. And in fact, supposedly he said, "I'm well done on one side, now turn me around on the other."
Stop!
I swear to you,
Stop!
This is the legend of St. Lawrence. And St. Lawrence apparently... Obviously, if you're in that situation, you obviously will shed a few tears. And people looking to the nighttime sky at this time of the year, looking up, see meteors, shooting stars coming down from the skies. The tears of St. Lawrence. And
okay, so that's the connection. All right.
There is the connection. And what this is the Perseid meteors, which always put on a spectacular display. They're due to reach their peak on Sunday night. And I'm not so pleased to tell all of you that unless you go to someplace in the United States where the skies are going to be clear, you're not going to see it from this area because we've got hydrometeors to deal with both tomorrow and again on Sunday and probably Monday and Tuesday as well, Joe.
Just comes to mind, though, I have seen it in situations like this where we've been in patterns where we've got a trough in the east and you get all these downpours and thunderstorms and they happen during the day and into the evening, and then sometimes at night it kind of magically partially clear.
Yes.
So I wouldn't completely rule it out. It's just that when it comes to forecasting this weekend, folks, a lot of you have asked me this, and I'm sure Joe got the same thing. You know, who has a wedding? Who's got taking pictures at 1 o'clock in the afternoon? Who's taking pictures at 4 o'clock? Is it going to rain? Who's asking me from the Hudson Valley to coastal New Jersey? Look, here's the way to approach the weekend and the weekend forecast. The threat for rain or showers could be there anywhere at any time. There's no way to know until we look at the radar a few hours before really where these showers are going to be. You're rolling a dice all day long, all day long Saturday and all day on Sunday. I think that's probably the best way to do it. If you're lucky enough and it's not raining, then good for you.
In this type of weather pattern, and I learned my lesson a long time ago, I know that there are forecasters out there that are trying to pin it down. They show you these like 11 a.m., 12, 1, 2, 3, 4, they break it down hour by hour. Folks, let me tell you, you can't really do it in this type of a weather pattern. I know you try to do that and you provide that service, but I remember an episode, Joe, for many years back in the 80s, I was a forecaster for the New York Mets. My company that I used to work at, we provided weather forecasts on a daily basis to the New York Mets. We would tell, every morning at 8 o'clock, I would talk to Pete Flynn, the head groundskeeper at Shea Stadium. Wonderful Irish brogue. Pete Flynn at Shea, how does it look for today? And they had a ball game at 2 o'clock that afternoon, and I told Pete, it was a very similar to what we're about to move into, a very humid, muggy air mass or whatever, and I said, Pete, we're not going to have anything at game time, and hopefully we'll be able to squeeze the game in. I don't think we're going to get showers and storms until after 4 or 5 o'clock this afternoon. He took me at my word, and they did not have the field covered or anything like that. What happened at 2 o'clock? Out of nowhere, forming right over Shea Stadium, there was a shower, and it was a locally heavy. I got a phone call from people at 2:30. He says, "I thought you said." I said, "I'm sorry, I'm sorry." And I learned my lesson. In this type of weather pattern, you just don't pin yourself down. Like the sword of Damocles hanging over your head this weekend will be the threat of a locally heavy shower, a thunderstorm, or whatever. Just keep that in the back of your mind. If it's dry at the moment, go out and take advantage of it, but be advised that it could just go away.
Well, I'm hoping it's dry tomorrow morning at 6:30 because I want to fish.
You want to fish.
All right, so I'm putting up the, these are the actual, these are temperatures right now. The humidity, to me, felt like it went up today versus yesterday. It was a bit muggier, at least down my way. It's late, especially late in the afternoon and evening, not so much this morning. But we're in the 70s. The green areas that are showing up on the map, though, that's where we have flash flood watches up for Long Island, the northeastern New Jersey counties, the Hudson Valley, lower, middle, and almost upper, and all of Connecticut. Now, for the rest of New Jersey, by the way, I'm thinking they may wind up having to add some more counties to this, probably waiting to see how the radar shapes up. And believe it or not, in the light green that we see here, these are actually coastal flood advisories that are up for, apparently there's tidal flooding going on up from Delaware Bay River? And on up the Delaware River. I'm not 100% sure why it's going on, but it is.
You might also explain, Joe, that the areas that are in green for the flash flood watch are counties that are under the jurisdiction of the National Weather Service Forecast Office in New York, or at Upton.
And Albany.
At Upton, and also Albany, New York. And the folks who have the rest of New Jersey is Mount Holly.
And eastern Pennsylvania is Mount Holly.
And Mount Holly apparently is not convinced enough yet to issue any kind of a flood statement or a flood watch for their counties. That may change, though, maybe not tonight, but perhaps tomorrow morning after they get a gander of the overnight computer guidance runs. They may feel that, okay, we'll join in with the rest of the crowd to our north.
Yeah, I think probably Mount Holly looked at this and said, you know what, we got a little more time to deal with it, so why not? All right, so with respect to rainfall, let's just look at what's going on, and just to remind everybody, this is the radar that you're seeing here. Is at whoops, just want to get the view better. This is at 9:21 Eastern time. So if you're watching this on a replay, check your local National Weather Service office at weather.gov for the latest radars. Starting to see some downpours in southwest PA, southeast Ohio, moving toward the east. There's also a little band there that's up in north central PA, looks like right along Route 80. Some of this stuff, depending on which model you look at, some of it has it in here by 2, 3 a.m., some of it not till 7, 8 a.m. This is part of the frustration that you and I have with trying to figure out when it rains, how hard it rains, and how long it rains during the day on Saturday and for Sunday too.
Right. It could very well be in the Hudson Valley that nothing is going to happen of any significance until after midnight or toward daybreak, and then we'll begin to see the activity start to ramp up. And then during the day tomorrow, as I said, it's going to be cloudy. We'll have mugginess and showers and scattered storms, particularly it would appear in the afternoon and early evening tomorrow, and that's when we could see some really heavy downpours or downpours, if you will. The flash flood watch that has been posted for the Hudson Valley suggests that from midnight tonight, when the watch goes into effect until 8 a.m. on Sunday morning, that in that time frame, that 32-hour time frame, that anywhere from 1 as a low shot to maybe as much as 3 inches of rain may fall. But Joe, I've been listening to your reports for New Jersey and also for Long Island, and you did a very good job explaining that in a pattern like this, where it's so very humid, that a lot of the showers could actually be more than what the models are suggesting.
Oh, yeah.
The precipitable water, and also the
topography,
fact that
all that.
Convection. If you get an especially heavy thunderstorm, you could very easily see, instead of 1 to 3, in some places, and we've already seen it this summer season, that 1 to 3 could very quickly become 2 to 6 inches of rain.
And then it wouldn't be a real shocker. By the way, we're going to be like this. We're going to be dealing with this at least through Tuesday and probably through Wednesday before this trough that's setting up right along 80 degrees west in eastern Ohio down through West Virginia. It's going to be 4 days of this whole process of getting this trough to drop down, swing around, and then move away to the northeast very, very slowly. Here's the HRRR, which is out till 15 hours.
No, it's out till lunch. That's what.
Well, that I won't disagree with.
This model has done horrible.
Right.
In the last
well,
couple of weeks.
let's look at it, because this one actually gels up some downpours here by 4 or 5 in the morning across central New Jersey, and then brings them over Long Island. See, this one now has got some heavy storms, heavy downpours. South of 78 to just south of 195.
In other words, the regions that are not under a watch, according to this model, will get clobbered,
right.
And the places that are under a watch
right.
don't see very much at all.
Not at least from this first round. And look at what this is by 11 o'clock tomorrow morning on the HRRR. It has it arced around the Hudson Valley, southwestern Connecticut, Long Island, New Jersey. Not a drop, okay, but it's raining everywhere around here. Now, just for laughs. The NAM is different. The NAM does this, brings, doesn't have that much now, but actually gels up downpours by 2 a.m. It's got something going on over Long Island, and then covers the whole area tomorrow morning by 8, 9 o'clock in the morning. Then that batch goes out, and another batch fires up in Pennsylvania, and that moves in for the afternoon and evening. This is what we're both talking about with respect to the frustration of trying to deal with what specifically these models are showing. What we're actually doing is looking at the overall pattern and saying, okay, this is what we have, and it's going on in the upper air. We know what that kind of upper air can produce. So look, the best way to handle it is the way we're handling it, which is to say that the threat is going to be there through Tuesday. Some people are going to get hit hard, some people not as hard. It's going to vary from place to place and from time to time.
Now, was it last year or the year before? It was in August, I believe. Last year or the year before on Long Island, central Long Island, eastern Long Island, someplace got like 12 inches of rain. Like 2 or 3.
That's now 2013, I think it was, August of 13. That's the 24-hour ice slip has got the 24-hour state where 13 inches and
right,
and that fell in about 4 or 5 hours time.
Right.
Yeah, that was, I believe that was in 2013.
Every time we get into this pattern, I always say in the back of my mind, somebody might get clobbered with something like that. An anomaly, I know, a far-fetched anomaly, but still, you can't. I mean, like you say, so well, who's going to predict something like that?
Well, that's just it. You can't really forecast that to something that extreme.
Yeah.
But here's what when you have an upper air like this in the summertime, Joe, it gets it's problematic with this cold upper low that's dropping down into the Ohio Valley. This is where you can produce thunderstorms that produce heavy rains. It's not so much a severe weather producer from the standpoint of wind and that kind of thing, but this is definitely a rain issue as far as I'm concerned. And the other thing is, I'm just switch to the GFS for a second, but one of the things that kind of struck me is I think Monday and Tuesday are where we might wind up, especially Tuesday with the upper low like this, moving slowly east-northeastward across northern Virginia to the northern Delaware. I think that's when we could see somebody getting clobbered with some big rain.
Right.
I don't know who, but it'll be anybody from northeastern Virginia to southern New England, in my view.
And it would be the second time in 3 weeks that we've had that. There was one case where we saw that in eastern Pennsylvania, where they got like 5 to 10 or 6 to 12 inches of rain. And then there was another closed low, and that system was further back west into the Ohio Valley. And now here we go again with another, which kind of looks like it's going to be more closely aligned with what we had a couple of weeks ago in Pennsylvania, only this time maybe closer to us, not Pennsylvania.
Right. The threshold for flash flooding is low. The ground is saturated. I was looking at some of the rainfall amounts that have fallen in some inland places in the last couple of weeks, and it's someplace in some places it's over a foot cumulative.
Right.
The ground is absolutely saturated. I think the rainfall amounts that WPC, the Weather Prediction Center, has forecast for the east. The red areas are all at least 3 inches, and that's what they basically have. This is for 7 days, so this takes us through much of next week. But most of this is going to fall between Saturday and through Wednesday on the order of 3 to 5 inches. I think that's fair. On some days, some places might get 2 inches, somebody else may only get a quarter of an inch. And then another day, it'll be reverse. I think this is fair to say that when you look at the overall rainfall over the next 5 to 6 days, and these guys have done a pretty good job with the other 2 troughs, so I don't see any reason to go against them on this. I think this forecast is fair.
I agree with you, and I like when I look at the WPC forecast, because these guys there's no bias. They don't care, for any one particular region. Whereas a forecaster, let's say at the National Weather Service in Philadelphia, they're doing a forecast either for rain or snow. They may take into account certain things and may push the amounts higher than what they might,
or even lower.
Or lower. These guys are unbiased in the sense that they just put down what they think it's going to be. It's kind of like a fair statement as to, or fair assessment, with no biases in any case.
Totally agreed. All right, let's look at the tropics real quick, because this actually I find a little amusing because of the fact that the Pacific Hurricane Center CPAC has been trying to get Hector to just weaken and go away, and it's a Category 4 hurricane again with 140-mile-an-hour winds.
Incredible. Absolutely incredible.
It's at about 18, a little north of 18 degrees north, and it's just crossing 168 degrees west.
It's in an environment where you don't see a Category 4 very often.
No, not at all. You're correct. And this is where they were forecasting this to weaken from yesterday, and it's done exactly the opposite. Eventually, once it gets up north of 20 degrees, it starts to get to 25 degrees north. The shear is going to probably start getting involved. Eventually, it is going to weaken, but I just find it amazing that we're seeing a Category 4 hurricane here, that by the time we get to late Sunday, we'll probably be crossing the international date line and becoming Typhoon Hector on the other side.
Amazing. And I think a lot of what they're doing at the Central Pacific Hurricane Center, they're simply going by a lot more on climatology as to what is anticipated.
Well, they don't have, and they don't. I'm not being critical here by bringing this up. I think this really illustrates something that the Hurricane Center in Miami has told us many times. When it comes to intensity, they still have a really tough time with it, because there is a lot of variables that show up that they may not take into account, or maybe they take into account some and it winds up being the opposite. This is a very, very difficult forecast when they make with respect to intensities, and it's something we need to remember when we have these storms. Here, at least, it's in the open waters. It's no longer bothering anybody. But if you have something that's threatening land, that's a Category 3, and then suddenly it's a Category 5, it has happened, and the other way around. Very fluid.
And the other thing is that I don't believe that the National Hurricane Center is located at Coral Gables, Florida, but they are not the weather service that does the forecast, let's say specifically for southern Florida and the Miami area.
Right.
Their job is strictly to look at tropical systems, tropical cyclones, and hurricanes or whatever. But the Central Pacific Hurricane Center normally does the forecast for the Hawaiian Islands. That's what they're there for. And then when we have one of these rare cases of a hurricane in their vicinity, they also have to undertake trying to forecast for that too. And I don't think it's they're not as concentrated as would be the National Hurricane Center on a tropical cyclone, as opposed to we have to do this as well as all of our other regular stuff. So maybe that might be one of the reasons why also the forecast in terms of intensity is not as accurate. And also, did they send? They're not sending aircraft.
It's all satellite estimates at this point.
All satellite estimate. The Dvorak.
Right. Which actually doesn't really, the satellite estimates have really been very, very close. Here, by the way, in the Atlantic, we do have, I didn't actually check. Let me check. Let's bring up NHC. NHC.NOAA.gov for those of you who don't know, but this is the Tropical Weather Outlook, and they're talking about disorganized weather between Africa and the Lesser Antilles, 20% chance of development in the next 5 days. We do see on the Atlantic satellite loop, as we bring it up there, the intertropical convergence zone, which has been very anemic, kind of is flaring up a little bit. There are a couple of tropical waves that are moving across. It's the one that's not quite all the way to the right. It's sort of in between. If you see that line of clouds, it's that patch of cloudiness that's more toward the middle. Let's see what happens as it moves toward the west over the next couple of days. Models don't seem to be doing very much with it. They show a little weak circulation that maybe forms, and then it just kind of disappears. I still don't see the Atlantic looking like it wants to wake up with activity anytime soon.
Well, it's mid-August now. Things may begin perking up in another couple of weeks as we get closer to... and what's the old saying? On Labor Day, there's always at least one storm on hurricane in the Atlantic Basin.
Well, yeah. There are years where it hasn't happened, but one of the things that came to mind... I wish I could remember what year. I have to go back and look. But I seem to recall there was one season where it was kind of like this, just very relatively quiet, and we got to almost the end of August before something finally developed, and then all of a sudden it was like bam, bam, bam. There were like 6 of them in a row.
Right.
So don't be shocked if the thing to look for, in my view, is watch the Pacific side. Once the activity in the Pacific side dies down, that's when the Atlantic is going to rev up, and I think that's what you look for in the next week or two. Just watch to see what happens on the Pacific side. When that stops making hurricanes every 5 minutes, then you'll probably see something attempt to flare up on the Atlantic side.
Absolutely. In fact, in an interview I did with Dr. Neil Frank, the former director of the National Hurricane Center, a radio interview, this goes back now into the earlier mid-'80s, and he said one thing that we always try to stress to the public is that in an odd sense of the word, hurricanes are actually good. They're good for the Earth. This is the way the Earth gets rid of excess heat that builds up in the tropics during the summertime. The only way it could do that is to produce in mid and late summer these big masses of clouds and precipitation, which we have come to call hurricanes and tropical storms. And you're absolutely right. Right now, a lot of that, it's kind of like nature letting off steam, or the Earth is letting off steam via these storms that have been occurring in the Pacific. And once the Pacific kind of slows down a bit, or once that stops, it may very well be that it'll be the Atlantic's turn to take hold and let off some steam.
Bob Apple bringing up the warm water that we have here, and people are already coming out with winter forecasts, and that there'll be some big busts. But let me put a little bit of ice on that, what you just said. I've seen it many years where we're sitting here with colder than average water, and it has no real impact on what happens down the road. The reason why our water temperatures are so warm is because we've had this persistent southeast flow for almost nonstop for the last 2.5 weeks. The surface water temperature has gotten extremely warm, and out east, right along 70 degrees west and almost to 40 degrees north, ocean water temperatures are in the low 80s. That is very warm for that area, and could wind up. We still haven't reached the seasonal peaks, which won't be for another week and a half to 2 weeks. But all it takes is a short time of strong northwest winds and upwelling, and all that warm water can easily be undone. So I really wouldn't put, and it can go away real fast.
Yeah.
Okay. It also came real fast because the water was actually going in through much of June, was running well below normal.
Right.
And all it took was a week of southeast winds, and that turned it right around. So I would not look at that as anything with regards to something that 4 or 5 months down the road, because we're still in August. Tessie. Oh my God, Tessie's on. Tessie, you're going to Montauk tomorrow? Look, there's downpour risk. That's all I can tell you. There is downpour risk, no matter where you're going to be around the area. Whether they happen or not, and how much you get remains to be seen. But don't be shocked, okay? Troy Haley wants to go fly fishing with me. I just want to be able to get out for 5 minutes. I've been so busy. I appreciate that very much. Fly fishing, Joe. I hope you get yourself a fly rod and go fly fishing. It's a lot of fun.
Okay. I haven't done really any real fishing for my goodness. It's been years, more decades actually. So, and I know that's your forte is fly fishing or fishing in general.
Both.
Just look, I guess Jeffrey never came on.
No, I guess not. I guess I scared him off.
Maybe you scared him off.
Robert Smith from Garden State Weather is on, and you're right, Bob. The dry dust, as long as that Saharan dust is out there, getting involved, it's going to really limit what kind of tropical development east of 50 degrees west, in my view. And you're going to have to wait till you get something north of 20 or 25 degrees north for it to get going. I think that's certainly the way it looks to me at the moment.
And Jackie, again, bringing up the meteor shower, any chance of a small chance of clear skies. As Joe mentioned, while, in the overview of things, you use a big wide brush for this weekend, you say absolutely it's going to be cloudy straight on through, but there have been, especially in the aftermath of, let's say, locally heavy downpours, all of a sudden you see a hole open up in the clouds, and you look at it and say, hey, I can see a few stars. So don't completely say it's not going to happen. I mean, the odds are heavily weighted against clear weather for both Saturday and Sunday night, but you never know. Sometimes a miracle may happen. So
yeah.
We'll see how it all pans out.
All right, you know what? We started early, so let's end it early tonight. It's the end of the week. I will be. You're going to take some time off. I will be soloing next week. So you'll have to wait for a week from Tuesday for the Joe and Joe show to come back.
Because when I come back,
I'm taking a day off.
Taking a day off.
All right. So in the meantime, have a great weekend. Be safe. Hopefully there'll be some dry time for you to do what you want to do, and for me to do what I want to do, and for you folks at home to do what you want to do. It
eventually will get nice and dry and pleasant and cool. Say about September or October. One of those months it'll happen. So we'll see.
Exactly. All right, folks, have a great weekend. Joe and I coming up at the top of the hour. He's Hudson Valley Lower.
And he's New Jersey and Long Island.
That's correct. And Andrew Pinheiro and Jonathan Cubitt will have the weekend taken care of before you know it, it'll be Monday morning, and Brian Fitzgerald and Jeff Banson will be back.
And Brittany Borer and Addison Green will be in the midday, and then the Joe Show.
I'll be on all evening, and it will also still be raining. or something.
What else?
All right, folks, have a great weekend. We'll see you on Monday.
See you again soon.